Hello, 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 and welcome back. Thank you for coming back to another episode of Dedicated to the Craft, a podcast brought to you by Ballast Brewing Company. I'm your host, Jeff Lozano, and I am very excited to get into today's episode with Mr. Josh Hembree of Setting Sun Sake. He is doing amazing things with sake, really pushing the boundaries, the craft boundaries with what you can do with sake. I know sake, you know sake. We've all done sake bombs and we've all ordered sake at a sushi joint, but you haven't had sake like his sake. He is doing some wild concoctions. He's doing some wild flavorings, and it was just so good. And it was very interesting to sit down with Josh because he's just a plethora of knowledge. I mean, the guy is fascinating to talk to because he knows what he's doing and he knows why he's doing it. And he talks a little bit about what sake is and why he got into it. And then he goes into complete depth about what he's doing over there at Setting Sun. So I am very excited for you to listen to him. But before we get to that episode, I saved the date already. You should too, to the San Diego Sake Day, which coincides with International Sake Day, Friday, October 1st, 2021 at the Japanese Friendship Garden. I'm going to be there. You should be there too. And then we can have sake. We can drink sake. I think Josh is going to be there too. So we'll meet Josh. I'll meet him again. You guys can meet him for the first time. Did you know, by the way, that Ballast Brewing Company is the official craft beer sponsor of the San Diego Legion rugby team here in San Diego? We are. And to celebrate that relationship, we released Legion Lager. And Paul Elder, our artist, outdid himself again with the beautiful artwork that's depicting the San Diego Legion. And you can swing by at any of our tasting rooms here in San Diego, pick up a 4-pack for yourself, drink it. It's delicious. And maybe you can hang out on game day. We have watching parties here at Miramar, and you can hang out with me and the cohort and cheer on our boys. So without further ado, Mr. Josh Hembree of Setting Sun Sake Brewing Company. Well, Misha Collins, hello, welcome back. My co-host on today's episode, and we have the one, the only, Josh Hembree. What's up, dude? Thanks for jumping on the show.
Hello, and thank you. I appreciate you guys sending me beer. I do almost anything for beer.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that, and it's going to get weird possibly in the future. President, head of brewing operations at Setting Sun Sake. You're right down the street from us, man, in the Miralani district, and you are doing some really interesting stuff, dude. So let's get right to it. You also gave me a little bit of liquid love, your Little Cloudy and Arizona Bay. Which one do you suggest I crack open first?
Start off with the Arizona Bay. That's my love letter to the Arizona Bay. That's peach green tea, nice peach can. Beautiful view of what Arizona would look like if California fell off the map.
This is cooler than Cactus Cooler, man. Let's go.
Oh,
awesome.
That was good. Dude, I got a mic just to do that. I got this mic just to do that. Hey, Josh. Hey, man, like I know you. You're one of the raddest dudes in the industry. But what is Setting Sun Sake? Who are you and what is your company all about?
Well, how it ties even to beer even. I spent about 10 years in the beer industry working for breweries all over the world. I worked for Stone. I worked for Paul Honor Hucker Shore, Fuller's, Belching Beaver, breweries all over the place. Every level of job to get more and more experience for the end goal of opening my own place, which is Setting Sun Sake. San Diego and Southern California's only sake brewery.
Ooh,
that's so awesome.
Misha, I'm going to make you jealous. I hope you don't mind. We have some for you. So I won't forget you, but you just couldn't get your hands on any right now, but I'm going to rub it in. This stuff is good. This is good stuff, dude. Session style, Arizona Bay. It says flip to enjoy cloudy. This looks a little cloudy. Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did it great. So the concept on these are going to be session style sakes. They're going to be Nagori style, which is the cloudy style. And they're going to be flavored to be super drinkable, crushable even by the standards of sake, but still 8%. I like to drink it over ice. It's super mellow. Where this is it's that extra push, man. I've been brewing sake for the last 7 years, and we've been open to the public for the last 4 of those. And so like brewing California affectations of sake, playing around with whatever I could. I found that people were still afraid of the high alcohol content. They were like, when do I drink sake? How do I drink
Mhm.
sake? And these cans represent drink sake all day, every day, anywhere for any occasion. And also we make junmai, and also we make nigori. So please come and try that. And also we do sake education to help refine people's knowledge and uh, selection base of Japanese sakes as well.
A quick question about your work in the beer industry. 10 years throughout the craft beer industry, different jobs, different breweries. What made you change from craft beer to sake?
Um, I wanted to push myself. I wanted to do something unique and different. And having worked for international breweries and having worked for large scale craft breweries and small craft breweries, I felt that there was already a lot of people out there with a lot of opinions on beer. And there wasn't enough people out there shouting how great sake was. And in beer, I really fell in love with that aha moment. The aha moment for other people as much as myself, when somebody tries a beer they never thought they would like, or a style of beer they'd never even heard of, and they're like, oh my, this is delicious. I want a lot more of this, not just a little bit more of this. I felt that with sake, I would have a whole new table to play with, a set of experiences. And ultimately, things that make sake different than beer make it more difficult to produce. And I thought that
Mm.
if I was going to be the best at something, why not be the best at something incredibly difficult?
It's right in your mantra, man. Pushing the limits of craft brewing, and who better to do it than a
Right.
craft brewer? You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, beer, four simple ingredients: malt, water, hops, and yeast. Sake, four ingredients: water, rice, koji, and yeast.
What's koji?
Great
What?
question, man. So koji is the living representation of the mash process in brewing. It's Aspergillus oryzae is the Latin name or the scientific name. Koji is the Japanese name, and in American, like the basic English, it's rice mold. So I'm going to refer to it
Hmm.
as koji because
It's the
that's more.
better of it's the better of the
Mm.
three.
It sounds exotic. But koji is actually used in a lot of food that you already consume, even if you don't drink sake. It's soy sauce is made with koji. There's a ton of foods that miso. Thank you. I got my assistant from the
Hell
background.
yeah, you're phone a friend.
Right. I'm very grateful to have friends. So yeah, miso. It's used in a lot of preparations and curing processes. It's outside of just sake, but because the rice in sake has been polished, it removes not only the bran and chaff, which would be the outside of like the barley kernel, it also removes the endosperm. So it loses its ability to convert itself. Whereas beer, the malt has been malted to begin that conversion process that's finished in the mash. Uh, Sake koji is that complete mash process, malting and mash process all in one.
Very
Cool.
weird, very cool, but very interesting how the parallels can get drawn once you know both.
I love that you said that. So one of the thing that makes sake different is the fact that it's called multiple parallel fermentation, where two biological agents are enacting upon the mash at the same time to produce the finished product. Unlike beer, wine, cider, or mead, that's a very linear process. You have an original gravity and a final gravity. In sake, because the rice is a raw carbohydrate that converts during the brewing process, I have no original gravity and only theoretical terminals because it dries, it ferments incredibly dry. We finish out at like 0.98.
0.98.
I mean, 0.99, 0.98.
Very cool, dude. And it's super dry.
Yeah. But you get the residual sugar. You get some of the rice in there that builds up the body and gives a roundness of mouthfeel, as well as culinary grade matcha and that peach. So it's nice and sweet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. It
But
is
is it
sweet.
boozy?
Huh?
Is it boozy to you?
I don't think it's boozy. I think that the nice balance from the residual sweetness is Trojan horsing that ABV really good, really well. It's actually dangerously good. Yeah. It's not, depending on how much you consume, it's a great or not so great thing. But I can drink this and kind of stay home forever for the rest of the day. This is not something that you crack open and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go do things. Unless it's disc golf, I guess.
It's great for disc golf, and especially since it's 8% and is great over ice. A can for two people, man. One can for 2 people per hole. You're going to get out of there at a very low ABV. It's going to be fun.
Well, it doesn't taste like an 8%er. I think it's because of that muted ABV. Misha, we're looking at naturally gluten-free, naturally tannin-free, naturally sulfite-free. It's on the can, Josh. Why is it on the can? Why do you need to let people know?
It's true, and if I don't tell people, they may not know. One of the things that makes beer difficult to drink is oftentimes the gluten. If people are gluten intolerant or just have too much, like a heavy diet, they tend to shy away from beer. In sake, it doesn't have any of that stuff. We don't add any sulfates. We don't have any tannins from the fermentation process, like in wine. And because of our longer protracted fermentation process, we produce shorter chain alcohols, which are easier to digest. So that makes it kind of a softer thing.
Awesome.
Makes it easier to drink.
The way you explained it made me like, I don't know. I felt like it cleared up everything, but I'm like, oh, whoa, okay, yeah. This is much more of an interesting beverage than I have ever given it credit for. And I think most people think that about sake, especially what you're doing with Setting Sun.
Well, most people's exposure to sake is similar to your exposure to craft beer, or at least it was when I was younger, is that you only get the macro stuff first. You only get the commercial stuff. And realistically, if your experience with sake is exclusively, I bought it because it was for $1 and I dropped it into an industrial light lager, you're not really drinking sake. There's something in sake that I think is way underrated, and it's jizake, and that's local sake, and it's something that really doesn't make it to the States. And it was kind of crystallized in my mind or codified why I need to do the sake brewery is because shipping stuff from foreign places is expensive and it degrades the product because of the inlaid time.
That's a good point. Misha, have you been to the tasting room?
I have not.
But you've had some of it, right? You've had some of it before?
Yes, I've had in bottles, but I'm just intrigued because even looking on the website, you see all the seasonal sake that they have to offer, and my mind is blown. Like you have a Yoko Weiss, like a Berliner Weiss inspired sake. What?
Well,
sounds amazing.
San Diego's sister city is Yokohama, and I wanted to kind of. It's always kind of a deconstruction and rebuilding of styles, and I was like, well, I would love to have a Berliner Weiss, so I teamed up with a brewer friend of mine, and we took some of his malt bill, his wort, and we threw it on top of the kasu, which actually is used in a pickling or souring process to make kasuzuki pickles. So we built a beer that was soured on sake lees as if it were kind of a Berliner Weiss affectation. And then we throw a little Citra dry hop simple syrup in at the end to give it that classic presentation.
Again, drawing from your experience as a craft beer maker, you're starting to see all of these influenced beverages, right? Where you see it in cider now, you definitely see it in kombucha, and then now you're shining the light on how it can enter the craft sake world, where you're getting different components that. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you do this because you know the flavors are interesting and they're going to work? Or is there a little bit of familiarity in this particular industry where you go, I'm going to throw this in so people kind of ease into it?
That's a great question, man. I do. It took me 3 years in recipe development before I opened Setting Sun Sake of brewing it takes 3 months to batch a sake. So I'm brewing every couple months, a new batch, trying to find out what our flavor profile was. It took us a year to launch the Lil Cloudy and Arizona Bay. It took us a year in not only just recipe development, putting it through the tasting room, hey, what do you think? A little bit more this, a little less that. Um, all that comes through, and I do that because if I were to put 6 or 7 traditional affectations of sake on a tap, they would all be clear junmai from Osaka, clear junmai from Hokkaido, clear junmai, and it would be very difficult to get new people interested in that. That'd be like
Right.
super dork kind of stuff. And we do it, but no one would kind of venture in and explore it if we didn't make it more friendly. Also, as kind of a tandem effort, I wanted to use sake as a prism for me to shoot everything I love. So, like, we did a pastry stout inspired sake with AleSmith, our Ronin Black with coffee and chocolate and barrel aged, and we've done our brewberry sake is a Belgian lambic inspired sake in the style of a framboise, but it's a feral sake with blueberries.
So in your industry, you call it feral instead of wild, or you just call it you refer to it as feral?
I mean, like everyone loves their little pet names for it, but feral is just a open fermentation, biome inoculation, wild kind of jam. Yeah.
Wild jam.
Well, listen, we're going to continue the conversation about what you're doing over there, but I do want to get to this next one. And believe it or not, I slammed that Arizona Bay. It was insanely quaffable. It was insane.
Up at the
Yeah.
Ballast Point in Long Beach. So if you want to drive up there and get it.
Oh, so you're on tap with us. Okay, cool. Look, I got a little cloudy here. Talk to me a little bit about this one, dude. Because I like what you got going on here. You got a little bit of some interesting artwork here. For everybody listening, I'm holding up the can, but
pardon me, I drank that beer too excitedly.
oh,
My sound wrapper, my little cloudy. It's 8% chai and vanilla spiced Nagori sake, and the artwork on the can is by Ethos One, who's a local San Diego artist. I just saw his artwork somewhere, and I reached out to him on Instagram and said how much to do a label. Like, let's get this popping.
it's pretty cool, dude. It's pretty Illuminati of it, but
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. So we got a little cloudy here, and we got a vanilla Nagori session sake with chai spices.
Yeah.
Where is the inspiration coming from, man?
In my 10 years of brewing, you don't make a lot of money as a cellar rat or a packaging guy. So I would bartend. And, I have just as many years tending bar, coming up with flavor creations on that. One of the biggest components, or my secret weapon, as it were, is Kim Rojas, our tasting room manager, was a pastry chef in her past life. And so she brings that full arsenal to the table. And so we're constantly R&Ding new cocktails, new sakes, new concepts. It's a real team effort here at Setting Sun Sake.
Misha, you're gonna be so excited. Unless you've already had it. I might be just repeating something that
I
you've
haven't
already
had it. I haven't had it yet, and I'm very jealous.
There are newest releases. I gave you the stuff fresh off.
Oh, look at you! We're getting hooked up over here, Misha. I'm always thinking when somebody's using this particular array of flavor components, whether it's a spice, whether it's an herb, a botanical, that you really, really got to be careful using in beer. But in something like this, something that's essentially zero body, it's spritzy. You can play around a lot more with these flavors.
Yes and no. The thing that makes me think sake is cool is it's not just harder than beer. It's infinitely harder than beer because there's no malt to hide behind. There's no hops to hide behind. It is that flavor. And so when you drink our Ronin Clear, you're drinking our koji, you're drinking our yeast, you're drinking our rice, our water, our plus. When you're drinking the little cloudy, you're definitely drinking like a cocktail inspired thing where we're toasting the chai spices to bring out the fullest flavor. We're blending in the right amount, resting in the vanilla bean on the spices before we blend it all in. Get it all in.
Ooh, it's good. It's good.
Sounds great.
Do you like chai, Misha, at all?
I do.
This is like this beautiful chai. The vanilla is expressing itself a little bit more in the coconut essence to me,
Nice.
and
But
it's almost like,
not
what's up,
too
dude?
sweet, not too sweet, and it clears up on the palate. It's not heavy on the palate. It leaves you wanting more.
It does, and that flavor coupled with just the dry body and the carbonation that is going to just prompt that next sip. It's like we were talking about. This is a dangerous thing, dangerously delicious, and good on you,
Dangerously
man. So
delicious. That should be your next T-shirt.
I
Right?
say it a lot. I
Setting
say it
sun
a lot.
sake, dangerously delicious.
Ooh, hey
Danger.
man, I want my royalties. I just want a 4-pack every once in a while. If you end up making that shirt and you sell it, all right.
All right, you drop off more of this, Gus, we got a deal.
Well, you're right down the street, dude. And I think now that things are opening up, I'm going to find myself at your spot a lot more often. Real quick, I just really quickly want to touch on this because I typically like to ask this of anybody that's really innovating and spearheading a particular industry. I can already assume that there's very few people making craft sake, but how has the experience been not only spearheading this new beverage, but in a town like San Diego?
I wanted to do it in San Diego after traveling all over the world and seeing what it had to offer. I wanted to live in a beautiful place while I worked. If I'm going to toil, it might as well be in San Diego. And also, San Diego is the brewing capital in the world, not just in my opinion, but also because we've got so many breweries putting out so much quality. Um, so it was a double threat for me to want to work in San Diego, right? It's like this is where good stuff is made, and it's beautiful here.
It's not a bad way of choosing a slab of real estate. Misha, what are you drinking over
Seriously.
there? I see you bringing up your
Oh,
glass. What are you sipping on?
well, I didn't have any sake present, and I
My
didn't
bad.
feel right drinking a beer because I wanted to celebrate the sake. So I'm actually drinking a seltzer.
Nice.
Second chance, slim
Love
Oh,
it.
nice.
chance. This is the
The
first time I had it. It's pretty good.
Okay, rad. Well, it's funny, and because this body is reminding me that a lot of this tactile stuff that's going on right now in my palate is reminding me of what a seltzer is achieving, but in this beverage, this craft sake, it's so much more complex. Like
Yeah,
I can't really pinpoint what's going on right now, and I think that that's a trait of something very unique.
thanks, man. Yeah, we try really hard. We got a lot of great stuff. We've got our core four out there. It's still March, so we're celebrating the Japanese Friendship Gardens Cherry Blossom Festival. If you go on our website and order a pack, you get our core four with the two cans. So it's like a 6-pack for the price of a 4-pack, and we split the proceeds with the Japanese Friendship Garden. So you get more beautiful, garden experiences, and you can drink.
And you can drink. There you go. That's the hook, line, and sinker. But in honesty, dude, you are, or have you always been a fan of Japanese culture?
I don't know. I'd like to tell you no, but I guess I watched anime as a kid. I'm a fan of it as much as I think anyone else is. I came to sake very strangely. Like I came to sake after running at beer as hard as I could and wanting to be the best brewer I could possibly be. I fell in love with how complex and difficult and nuanced sake is. It's not so it's not out of not necessarily out of a love of Japan. I'm learning more reasons to love Japan as I grow with this process.
That's awesome and amazing. And one of the things that I noticed about setting sun sake, it is particularly about you, is your urge to educate. And there's a need, and then there's just a vocation, right? And it sounds like you're the kind of guy that just wants, no matter what you're involved in, you just want to teach. But one of the things that stood out to me on your website and a piece of what setting sun sake is that you weren't trying to teach people about sake. It says there very specifically, you're trying to teach people about enjoying sake.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, dude.
All right. So thank you for prompting me on this one. It was a nice softball pitch. A lot of people are kind of afraid to jump in. They don't know where to start. And if you don't even like raw fish, you may not come across it, right? So without telling you what brands to buy, I would love to explain the difference between Hanjonzo and Junmai really quick. Hanjonzo, the
Please.
alcohol added. They're Udderton style sakes where they fortify them. They have a sharper and linear flavor. They're great. I love them. There's also Junmais. Junmai means pure rice, the character Jun and Mai. And so if you
Hmm.
want just something that's simply rice, water, koji, and yeast, you're looking for Junmai. Whether it's Nigori or not, which is cloudy, Nigori literally translates to cloudy. So if
Oh,
it's opaque white or not, it could be the same product. It's just how you're choosing to enjoy it. Um, so get out there and drink more sake, and if you can just unpack, I like this or that, it'll really help you choose more sakes. Having just a clear or cloudy is sometimes not enough, but too much information could also be too much.
Misha, how do you enjoy sake most of the time?
I was just going to say, most of the time I have sake when I'm out for sushi. And
Hmm.
it's usually, like you said, sake bombs or
Yeah.
just a little small bottle of sake. And they're usually harsh and boozy and in your face. And I kind of get put off by it.
Mhm.
But I feel like Setting Sun is changing that because it's being a little kinder to your palate in a sense. And not only are you providing the different flavors, but it's an educational experience as well.
Oftentimes, sushi restaurants are not owned by Japanese people trying to showcase the best Japan has to offer. And the cheap sake they sell is very affordable, but it's also considered cheap sake to them too.
Mm.
Okay, well, you know what? In light of that comment, we're gonna do a little bit something different here that we've never done on the show, and it's a little segment called "Here's the Thing." And I say that a lot. My wife hates that I say it because every time that I'm trying to explain something to her, I go like, "Yeah, but here's the thing." And so this is like nails on a chalkboard to my wife, but I'm gonna try to flip the script on this. So here's the thing, which is just 1 to 3 things, Josh, that people need to know. I'm a novice. I need to know about sake.
Okay. Sake, as we call it, is a global word for alcohol in Japan and could be up to 3 different things depending on your regionality. If you're in Okinawa, it could be Okinawan sake, which is a distilled product. It could be shochu, which is also a distilled product, and it could be nihonshu, which the Nihon is the character for Japan, Nihongo, and shu is the character for alcohol. So those
Mm.
three things, Nihonshu, shochu, and amaware or Okinawan sake, uh, those things are definitely something to understand to then describe sake, because oftentimes I have people telling me about this very strong high alcohol thing they once had in the military, and that was distilled product and not what I do. And because we use sake so loosely, it does cause confusion. That's one. The second thing that people should know about sake is drink sake to explore sake, to learn about sake. Whatever English is on the label, obviously Setting Sun Sake has all English on the label, but whatever English you can glean, absorb it, take it in, translate it to whatever degree, drink lots of sake to enjoy it. That's the only way to learn, is to get in. And the third thing is the number one fire pairing that you can do to impress your friends and family, to make them think you're smart, is sake and cheese.
Huh.
No, no
I know,
way.
yeah, that's a wild hump, but the cured crystals in a aged Gouda or cheddar, or the um, blue cheese are both great pairing options for sake. And sake has more amino acids in it than any other alcohol by virtue of its brewing process.
You
Oh my
ready,
gosh, I'm
Misha?
writing that
You
down.
ready? You
Yep.
ready? You're gonna have a charcuterie plate
Yes.
or a cheese plate, and we're gonna go get some setting sun sake. Do you do any of this at your spot, dude? Please tell us a little bit about your spot and what you guys are going to be hopefully offering in the near future.
Yeah, so we're in Miramar, right down the street from Ballast Point, a walking distance if you're bold enough. Check out our Instagram or our website to see what we're up to. We've got we're teaming up with SD Charcuterie to make a bento box of meat and cheese. That'll be coming up for Mother's Day, I believe, if I'm saying it correctly. We've got a collaboration with Lost Cause Mead, and we're doing honey and meat sake jam with them. So keep an eye out for that. And we have tons of stuff going on in the tasting room, tons of tasting room exclusives that we're not putting out on the website or out we're shipping. If this is going beyond San Diego, we ship to 39 states. We just got representation in Montana, so if you're in Bozeman or Billings, hit us up.
Yeah, dude. Yes, and this is going
Nice.
on the wild world of the internet. So anybody will be able to listen to this. Misha, do you have any last questions for Josh?
I think we've hit it. I was interested in seeing how he got into sake, his inspiration for all these fun flavors. We have a pastry chef that helps out with a lot of things. So my
Kim,
questions were answered.
hold on. Before you guys go, let me ask a question to y'all.
Yeah.
Misha, you can go first or second. It depends on how bold we are. What is sake? If after this you're going to be like, I did a thing where I talked to people about sake. What is sake to you?
Sake to me is a rice-based alcohol. And there's three different main components, not components, there's four main components, but there's three different things
It's
in
okay.
Japan. Dang it.
No, you got it. It's okay.
Three different interpretations, correct?
Yeah.
There you go.
But all right. So what's your version of sake, dude? Come on.
My version of sake is a rice-based fermented drink that is bypassing a lot of the intricacies enzymatically that beer has, and I think of the world in beer, right? So this is a readily available carbohydrate that basically lends itself to become something that is going to be very dry and very, well, this is how you touch it up, and very spritzy. But sake to me is a homage to a cultural beverage.
Yeah.
Well, Setting Sun sake is an homage to a cultural beverage. And right now, I will tell you right now, Josh, I don't really see myself going down the sake train, but I do see myself going down the Setting Sun sake train.
It starts somewhere. You'll be drinking in no time. One of the things I love to juxtapose is people don't know how to describe it, and oftentimes it's called a rice wine. And if you think about it, it is rice wine, just like a barley wine is a beer and a wheat wine is a beer. It's a very strong version of that, right? So rice wine, barley wine, wheat wine. That was all I was trying to throw out there.
No, dude, and I'm glad that you're asking, because your mission to educate everybody on this delicious product. By the way, this is just one of two. I haven't even had one of your cocktails over there at Setting Sun Sake, and I will.
The Garden-esque is cracking right now. That one's primed for spring, and you should come check it out.
Look, I'm telling everybody right now, 8% seems daunting, but this is something that you can throw in the cooler at a backyard barbecue, and you can enjoy just as much as any light lager you've ever imagined anywhere. This is palatable, it's quaffable, and god dang, it's delicious, dude. It's really good. The amount of residual sweetness that's allowed into the final product is this nice buffer to the high octane that you may or may not think it is. It's just perfectly balanced, dude. Your use of flavor components, spices, herbs, and all that stuff is impeccable. I'm sure it has a lot to do with what you've learned throughout the years. And to tell you the truth, go out there, go to Setting Sun Sake, go online, order some stuff yourself, join the Ronin Club, and follow this beautiful cast iron cooking connoisseur, Josh Hembree. Yeah, dude. Man, you're one of the coolest dudes, man. I love your philosophy. I love the way that you describe what you're doing, and because the passion really seeps out. Misha, we got to go down to Setting Sun Sake. All right, let's go and let's eat some cheese.
Take a day.
Pair it with every day. How about that? Boom. Hey, give me a big cheers. Give me a big cheers before we go.
All right.
Cheers,
guys.